Oh, hey guys. Um, it's sunny, uh, and I'm a little bit late, just a couple of minutes. I was polishing off a wonderful salad that my husband made. So if you see any broccoli in the tea, that's what's happening. Don't tell me, because if I know it's there, I'll get embarrassed, and I don't watch these videos back. So just pretend you don't see it, and I'll pretend it's not there. Um, yeah, so sometimes I eat salads, I guess. Not that you asked me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I used to be a super duper duper picky eater. Like, if you knew me 5 years ago, you would know that me and salads did not mix. I thought they were gross. Who would want to eat lettuce? It's just, ugh. I would rather have a burger and fries from McDonald's. Like, seriously, that's where I was. But over time, I decided to stop feeling like shit and to get my eating under control. Um, but that was a commitment that I made. It took a long time for me to finally commit to it. And now I love salads. I think they're super, super, super tasty. And I enjoy eating them, especially for dinner. I like to do them for dinner because I feel like we get stuck in the whole, excuse me, I have something going on with my lungs. We get stuck in the hole. We have to have like this super duper hearty dinner, and then we go sit on the couch and we don't really do anything. We don't move around to get that food digested or to burn off the carbs. And so I feel lighter in the morning when I have a nice big salad for dinner. So that was one of the things I've been working on for the last several months, is to eat more salads, because it's a really easy way to get your vegetables in, and they're really, really yummy. I don't like a lot of leaf in my salad. I prefer a lot of different veg. So like my husband made this salad and it's got a little bit of lettuce. I think it's like the spring mix in the box that you get. And then he put like a shit ton of broccoli and chopped up bell peppers, peas, green peas. And then we had spicy pecans and a little bit of pistachio. And there's something else in there that I'm forgetting. Oh, mango. He put mango in there and raisins. Oh, it was so good. So good. Okay, anyway. I'm reminiscing over my dinner. Like, I ate a giant bowl of salad and I really want to go out and have another bowl, but I came in here to chat with you. And I'm getting comfortable. As I get comfortable, my knee will slide up and you will notice that I am wearing sweatpants. So I have been on camera 3 times today and I'm really only dressed from the waist up. So if I put my knee up because I forget what I'm doing and you see my sweatpants, just pretend you don't see that either. Kim said she loves salads too, but usually in the warmer months than this time of the year, but still try to do a couple times each week. Yes, I do too. I can eat salads like a mad woman in the summer. And they are really hard to eat in the wintertime, just like water. I mean, water is kind of hard to get down in the wintertime just because you want something that really kind of like warms you from the inside out. So I totally get it. But that was something that I really wanted to work on over the last couple of months, was eating more salads, because I would think back to a time when I really felt really, really good. And that's when I was having at least a salad a day. So I've been working to get back to it. And some days are better than that. I wouldn't say that I have a salad every day, but I would say probably 4 to 5 days out of I thought my dog was opening the door, 4 to 5 days out of the week, I eat a salad. Okay, so if you see broccoli in the teeth, we're ignoring that. If you see sweatpants on my bottom, on my legs, we're ignoring that as well. So tonight we're going to talk sugar cravings. So if you haven't read the blog, make sure that you check out the blog. If this is your first time watching any of my Facebook Lives, know that I do them every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. My name is Sunny Brigham, and I am a board-certified clinical and integrative nutritionist. I have a master's of science in clinical nutrition. And I thoroughly enjoy providing you guys all the tips and the tricks that you need to take your health under control. So there's a lot of reasons why health sort of spirals out of control. And I've written about, I keep forgetting words, I've written about sugar a lot in the past, but I don't think that I've ever really addressed the cravings, or why we have them and what you can do about them. Because That seems to be one of the biggest reasons that people feel that their healthy eating patterns are derailed, because ice cream and cupcakes and Snickers and all the wonderful things that you just want to shove in your mouth hole all the time. I am not immune to those. I have cupcakes on occasion. I indulge just like everybody else. I think I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, oh, you must have a perfect diet. And I was like, oh, no, no. I believe in balance and moderation. So I do not have a perfect diet. I take my cupcakes with my salad. So tonight we're going to talk about sugar cravings, the three primary reasons. Again, I apologize. The three primary reasons why we have sugar cravings, and basically what you can do to somewhat overcome them. If you haven't read the blog, it is linked somewhere around the video. There is a blog that you can check out, but let's get to it. And if you have any questions, go ahead and post them if you're watching live. If you are watching this after the fact, post your comments anyway. I do monitor the section and I will come back and answer your questions for you. Okay, so sugar cravings are ridiculous. No one is immune to them. And I mean no one, because people will say like, oh, well, I don't really have a sweet tooth. And that's great. That just means they're not reaching for the Snickers or the cookie or the cupcake. That means that they're reaching for the white bread with the butter on it, or the potato chips, or something to that effect. They want the really carby things. And quite honestly, that's sugar too. Any of those things that are really heavily processed, the body sees them pretty much the same, because we break all carbohydrates down to a single sugar molecule called glucose. And so whether that is table sugar or a white potato, bag of potato chips, piece of white buttered bread, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we crave these things, and we crave them for specific reasons. And the body wants them, and so it recognizes them the same way. So when people say, well, I don't really have a sugar or a sweet tooth, that's okay, but my cupcake is your bag of potato chips. So we all have our cravings. It's just recognizing that you do have them, and then understanding why you're having them, so that you can get to the base underlying problem that's causing you to have these cravings. Okay, so one of the biggest reasons that I see that people have cravings is stress. And I've talked about stress a lot in the past. Stress is a serious issue that causes a lot of problems with our health. And so stress is it's really important that we get stress under control. Most people do not link their food cravings to stress. Some do, but most people don't. I have sat in front of people and they, go through and we talk about their day, and they tell me everything that they do in the day. And then they get to the evening and say, like, I have these ridiculous cravings in the nighttime. I feel like I eat really good, but then, school and kids and soccer practice and dinner and groceries and chores and dishes and dogs. And then I sit down on the couch at night and all I want to do is stuff my face with junk food. And there's a reason for that. And it's because you are under a ridiculous amount of stress at that point. And so just to kind of give a quick overview of the stress response in the body, we have three primary hormones that release every time we're stressed. It's adrenaline, noradrenaline, or norepinephrine, and cortisol. And so adrenaline and norepinephrine kind of give us the lasers focus, the heart racing, pumping, the gall to get out of there, away from whatever is causing us stress. Cortisol, we release at variety of various times during the day. We release it during exercise. We release it in moments of stress. And no stress is different, right? The body doesn't see a lion in front of you different than an email that you just got that says, hey, I need this in 30 minutes on my desk, and you haven't even started this project. So it's a stressor for the body in both aspects. So the response is the exact same, which is the cortisol sends a signal to the body. So, hey, release all of the stored energy that we have so that we can outrun this lion. But when you're sitting behind a desk typing, now we have this free-flowing energy in the body, which is stored glucose. So remember when I said that all carbohydrates break down to glucose, we burn what we can, we store the rest for later. cortisol then tells the body, hey, release the stores so that we can outrun this lion, even though we might be sitting in traffic or typing in an email or whatever we might be doing when that stressor happens. And it's releasing this glucose so that we have the energy to outrun the lion. But if we're not outrunning the lion, we're just kind of sitting there. We can't restore this glucose. We're not going to use it. We can't restore it. Once it's stored once, you can't put it back to where it came from. So it goes through the liver and it comes out in the form of triglycerides. Increases triglycerides, get stored as belly fat. And so now your stores are empty and your body's like, guys, I'm going to need something in case that lion comes back. And so then the cravings hit. We want the foods that break down very, very quickly into glucose so that we can replenish those stores that we had. And so that's one way that stress creates cravings. Another way is when we're stressed, we don't feel very good and we want things that make us feel really good. And so that brings us into the next one, which is low dopamine. And so dopamine is a happy hormone. We create it in our small intestine along with some of the other ones like serotonin and all the fun hormones that help us stay nice and even keel and balanced. When we produce them in the gut, they get onto these cars that drive them out to the brain. They're called neurotransmitters. And once they get to the brain, they do what they're supposed to do. So dopamine specifically enacts on the reward system in the body. So we have dopamine receptors in the brain, and those are our reward system. There we go. They are our reward system. And so when things cause that reward system to enact, it makes us feel really good. Like for instance, you studied really hard for a test and you got an A+, and everybody's like, yeah, way to go, you did it, and you feel really good about it. That's your reward system. That's your dopamine acting on your dopamine receptors in your brain. Other things that can act on the dopamine receptors are things like jumping off of a building with a bungee cord strapped to your back, I hope. Those are adrenaline junkies, people that seek the adrenaline rush. They seek that feeling. That type of action is acting on the dopamine receptors in the brain as well. And so we tend to feel happy when the dopamine receptors are enacted. We feel loved. So things like showing of affection, touch, cuddles, those sorts of things all enact on the dopamine receptor. And something else that acts on it is sugar. And so when we are upset, when we're sad, when we're angry, when we're pissed off, when we're tired, when we're cranky, when we're stressed, we want things to make us feel better. And so the dopamine receptors are craving something in the body to say, come on, let's make it feel good. Let's make it feel good. And so sugar will enact on the dopamine receptors. It'll make you feel good. It'll make you feel happy. It'll make you feel loved. It'll make you feel satiated. It'll make you go, ah. And so that's why we want sugar a lot. And so if we are a low dopamine producer, meaning that we have a genetic component that causes our dopamine production to be low, we have inflamed intestines, because again, I said most of the dopamine is produced in your small intestine. So if you've got food allergies, food sensitivities, you eat a standard American processed diet, you don't really take care of your gut health, there's a good chance that you are a low dopamine producer at that point as well. And so when we are low dopamine producers, we really want things like sugar to make us feel really good about ourselves. And so when we don't have enough dopamine, we reach for the cupcakes, cookies, candies, bag of potato chips, piece of bread, white potato, whatever it is that tickles your fancy at that point. And that's why, because we're feeling really down, we want something to make us feel great, and sugar is going to do it for us. So that is another reason that we crave sugar. And then one of the last main reasons that we crave sugar is eating a processed diet. The more sugar you have, the more sugar you crave. It's kind of like an addict, right? So whatever the addiction is, whether it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, doesn't matter. You feel that high off of something that you did and it made you feel really good. And so now you want more of it, kind of like an adrenaline junkie. When you have a little bit of sugar in your body, and it hits the dopamine receptors and your body goes, that was great. You want more of it. You will crave more of it. So when we're having a very high processed diet, we are putting a lot of sugar into the body. And remember, all carbohydrates break down to a single sugar molecule called glucose. Some faster, some slower. So we get that high more so with white bread than we do with like a whole grain, sprouted bread like Ezekiel bread, because you've got a lot of fiber in there. It's really tough to break down. So you don't get the spike you would as you would with like a hamburger then, or the bread basket at the restaurant or something like that. So when we have a processed diet, we eat more, we crave more. On top of that, the processed diet also causes inflamed intestines. So when we're eating foods that are inflammatory to the body, and I've written about this in the past, and this is also linked in the blog. So eating foods like corn, some people it's soy, some people it's gluten, some people it's sugar, some people it's caffeine, some people it's beef or pork or eggs or processed meats. So when we're eating highly processed inflammatory foods, we are creating inflammation in the small intestine. When we have inflammation in the small intestine, we have low dopamine production. When we have low dopamine production, we have high sugar cravings because sugar enacts on the dopamine receptors in the brain. And so it kind of creates this vicious cycle. On top of that, sugar is really hidden in a lot of processed foods. So some people will say, well, I don't eat sweets, but they might be eating a lot of foods where sugar is hidden because they don't really read the ingredients on the label. When we're taught to read labels, we're taught to look at the numbers, make sure it's low calorie and low fat. But we don't ever look at the ingredients where we should be. So sugar can hide in places like salad dressings, peanut butter, that's a big one, like Jif and Peter Pan and all the commercial peanut butters. Flip yours over, guaranteed there's sugar in it. Dried fruits, it's sweet enough, but for some reason we feel the need to shellac it in oil and roll it in sugar. Yogurt, especially if it is fruit infused yogurt. So you think you're doing a good thing by grabbing that blueberry yogurt in the morning, flip it over, because apparently blueberries aren't sweet enough. We have to add sugar on top of that. Breads. And I even find this in a lot of whole grain breads as well. Sugar makes the bread taste really good, but it also acts as a preservative. So the absolute best bread that you could ever buy if you are not gluten intolerant, if you don't have celiac disease, would be Ezekiel bread. There are no preservatives. You have to keep it in the fridge. It's probably going to only last a week or two. You can keep it in the freezer, but you'll want to throw it out before you eat it. Next one down would be Dave's Killer Bread. Dave's Killer Bread has sugar in it. It has a little bit of fruit juice in there to act as a preservative. And then any type of bread like Nature's Own, 100% whole wheat, any of those, flip them over, they're going to have sugar in it. Flavored oatmeal. So you might be doing a good job of getting, the Quaker Oats, cinnamon maple syrup, or apples and cinnamon oatmeal in the morning, but it's not just oatmeal, apples, and cinnamon. There's going to be sugar in that as well. Pasta sauce, this one always gets me. Pasta sauce. And salsa. You'll find sugar in pasta sauce and salsa. Commercial smoothies, usually with the fruit, they're going to add a little bit of sugar on top of it. Nut milks, although I feel that nut milks are pretty good about letting you know whether they're unsweetened or have sweet sugar in it. Pre-made soups, so like Campbell's soups, canned soups, box soups, all of those are going to have sugar in it as well. And bars. Any type of protein bar, grab-and-go bar, all of those bars will have high sugar. And while they may not have added sugar, most of them are made with dates as a base so that they're sweet enough to tolerate. And dates is a very, very, very high sugar fruit. So make sure that you get in the habit of reading your labels so you know what's hidden, what foods you're consuming that have sugar in it. So the first one that we talked about was stress. Make sure that you're limiting your stress. In the blog, I give you a link for 9 techniques to help reduce your stress. Reducing your stress doesn't take all day. You don't have to sit and meditate for 30 minutes. You don't have to go for a walk for an hour. It takes anywhere from 45 seconds to 5 minutes if you want to do any type of belly breathing or meditation. You can throw on your favorite playlist, sing it out loud while you're in the shower. All of those things help reduce stress. But we get into the cycle of doing that we're not relaxing at all. So if stress is the basis of your cravings, you definitely want to make sure that you are hitting it at the source, which is reducing your stress or attempting to reduce your stress the best that you can. We can't quit our jobs. We can't sell our kids, although sometimes we may want to, but you can reduce the stress load on the body so that you don't reach for the cupcake or the cookies or things like that. Low dopamine, again, some of it's going to be genetic. I'm a low dopamine producer. A lot of it's genetic. Some of it's digestive inflammation that I've had in the past. And then boosting, you can use supplements to boost dopamine. Tyrosine is a good one, although I don't think that people should run out and buy tyrosine on their own. I definitely think that you should do that under the care of a medical professional. The other way is that you could be a low dopamine producer if you have a high processed diet, because processed diet causes inflammation in the small intestine, which is where we produce most of our dopamine. And so sugar makes the brain feel happy, and that's why we always want it. So the first thing that I would tell you to do is to pick one thing that you want to focus on. If you are a high stress person, if you are a low dopamine producer, and if you have a really processed diet, it will be overwhelming to try to tackle all three of those at once. Pick one thing. Pick just one thing that you want to focus on, whether that's reducing hidden sugars in your food or reducing some of your stress. Picking one thing to employ every day to help bring down your stress levels. If your highest stress time is right after work, that's when you want to do it. If your highest stress time is right before you go to bed, that's when you want to do it. If your highest stress time is first thing in the morning, because as soon as you wake up, you're like, oh, I don't want to do today, then maybe that's a good time to do your stress. If you know that you have a really high processed diet and you're a high stress person, I would probably start with the stress, because a lot of the processed food intake tends to come from stress. So stress drives a lot of our actions. So I would focus on stress first before I would focus on anything else. And then from there, I would work on removing refined sugars from the diet. And then I would work on hidden sugars. Just remember that when you look at labels, it's not about the numbers, it's about the ingredients. And that is it. I don't see any other questions. This is our last Facebook Live for 2018, the next 2 weeks, because next Tuesday is Christmas and the one after that is New Year's. I don't know about you, but I'm not hopping on Facebook Live during those days. I'm going to relax and enjoy time and spend time with family. So we will be back on January the 8th with our very first Facebook Live of 2019. I can tell you what we're talking about. And we're going to talk about dairy and how dairy is inflammatory, if you can have dairy without it being inflammatory. So it's all going to be all things dairy, and why so many people are moving. Go ahead, Kim. Kim says she has a question. And so we're going to talk about why so many people, I was going to say why so many poopy, why so many people are moving away from dairy consumption. So I'm just waiting for Kim's question. We can talk more about my salad if you missed that part and how amazing my salad was. My husband made me this awesome salad for dinner. What else did I do today? I'm wearing sweatpants. We went over that. So Kim said, did you say what you recommend as a daily intake for sugar as a general guideline? I did not say that, but I certainly can. So my recommendation is completely different than what the FDA, or not the FDA, like the general standard guideline is. So the general standard guideline is 25 teaspoons for women and 35 teaspoons, 25 grams for women and 35 grams for men. So 25 grams is about 6 teaspoons of sugar, and 35 grams is about 8 teaspoons of sugar for men. 6 teaspoons is a lot of sugar, but it's very easily done, right? So let's say you have a can of Coke. That's going to get well over your 6 teaspoons of sugar for the day. So if you've got a 2, 3, 4 Coke a day habit, you're getting well over your added sugar intake. If you eat a pretty processed diet, just having salad dressings, just having pasta and salsa and these sorts of things that we think are really good, that have added or hidden sugars in it, that's going to add up really quick. If you go to Starbucks and you get, I don't know, even if you just get like a white mocha grande or something or other, or one of those unicorn frappuccinos or what have you. Clearly, I don't go to Starbucks a lot. You're getting anywhere from 30 to 40 grams of sugar just in one drink. So you are overkilling your entire sugar intake for that day. I always say, keep it as low as absolutely possible. A little bit of sugar in your coffee in the morning, a little bit of dark chocolate after lunch, after dinner, that's probably going to get you 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar each day, which is well below the standard. And remember, we talked about the more you feed it, the more you want it. So if you limit your sugar intake, you're going to crave it a lot less. So I would limit to a little bit of sugar in your coffee in the morning if you like it that way. I absolutely don't. I hate it. I love black coffee. Or if you want, a little bit in your tea, I think that's fine as well. A little bit of dark chocolate after lunch, after dinner will really help kind of satiate that, ooh, I need a sweet treat after I eat sort of craving that you have. But 25 grams every day is quite a bit of sugar. And when we talk about sugar, we're not talking about fruit. We're talking about actual added sugar. So the white stuff, the refined things. So that's what you really want to limit it each day to. And sugar is pretty inflammatory to the digestive tract. So you definitely want to limit that there as well, because that's going to cause your dopamine to be low in production as well. So the more inflammation that we have in the small intestine, the less dopamine that we're producing. And that is it. So hopefully I answered your question, Kim. If you guys are watching this after the fact and you have any other additional questions, go ahead and pop them below, and I will be more than happy to get those answered for you. And if you ever want to talk about my salad more, or the fact that I'm wearing sweatpants right now, we can always do that as well. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of 2018 leading into 2019, and I hope you set some pretty awesome goals for the entire year of 2019 and you stick with them. And I'll see you guys around. Bye.